I get to welcome everyone. My name is Carolyn Whiteman, and this is our monthly OPA call. And we particularly get to celebrate tonight because our OPA call happens to be on Valentine's Day. And so for those who are not here live, we look forward to knowing that you get to do this on replay. And we think tonight's topic is particularly apt, and we're calling it Bless Your Heart. By way of introduction, our OPA call is hosted by a number of master coordinators and senior leaders in the Loomis organization. And the term OPA stands for Organic Products Associates. And I happen to have the good fortune of remembering the time when our business organization was named OPA. I was working directly with the Loomises in Beverly Hills when they were our upline masters. And Mary and Gary had the vision that the business organization that then was known as the Loomis organization would grow so much bigger that it would grow beyond the name of the person who was the master. And so Mary elected to call this OPA, which stands for Organic Products Associates. So our OPA organization is the Loomis organization and I believe, 10 master coordinators, including presidential, senior, and master coordinators that are down the Loomis organization. Then we've, of course, lost both Mary and Gary, but the face of our business is Rob Loomis, who at the time that I first knew the Loomises, Rob had just left for Harvard Law School. So he has continued his career not only as a Harvard lawyer, he went on to be a classics professor and a scholar, and then since has progressed into being the face of our Shackley business. And so we get to welcome all of you, and you are part of the family. If you're here as a guest, you're welcome anyway. And I see Hannah Sherapin, Master Coordinator, is also with us. So it is our pleasure tonight to welcome a special guests that we call Bless Your Heart. Before we do that, though, I'd like to make two quick heads up announcements. One of them is that we are all looking forward to the possibility of actually live having an event together in Kansas City when our national conference, global conference is. And our OPA organization has a tradition of offering what we call trip dollars, OPA trip dollars. And those are supported, so anyone who is attending the conference has the opportunity to earn some dollars towards their trip, because we really like to encourage people, particularly this year, to be able to be live and in person together. The conference will be in Kansas City. It's early in August. And if you are in the OPA organization and you have not yet sent in your registration for OPA trip dollars, please do so. And as Scott reminded us, the notice that brought you to this call, if you scroll down far enough, there will be the notice on that, or the contact information to get to Rob Loomis, or to speak to whoever your supporting master and leader is, because we really do encourage everyone to be able to attend. It's an annual event that we get to do together. We feel like people should do at least 2 live events every year. And of course, we're now looking at having the first live event in like 2 or 3 years. So it's one we all particularly look forward to. So that's the first thing. The other thing I'd like to do just quickly is I'm going to find my screen share, and I'm going to take you, I hope, to the first page of, only I got so much stuff up here that I can't find it. Now forget the screen share. What we are doing, a number of us as a team, is we're doing what we call Welcome Wednesdays. And Welcome Wednesdays, we are doing a 20-minute presentation. We do it live, hosted on Wednesdays. That's really just an overview. It's an overview of who Shackley is, who we are, what our group is, tells some of my story and the story of some of the other business team that we all get to work with. And we consider it a profile, just an overview. And the reason we call it Welcome Wednesday is because it's really an invitation for someone who may be coming in new to get to see the whole big picture of Shackley, or it may be an opportunity to reconnect with people who are coming in and looking at Shackley again for the first time. So we host those live, and they are at 1 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock Eastern time. And you are welcome to come join us and bring guests. You can also go preview the presentation on introducingpossibilities.com, and the group information on getting on the calls is posted. It's kind of a wonky calendar, which I'm working on. But if you go to careerwithaconscience.com and go /events, you'll get the Zoom login for each one of those 3 calls. So we're doing this as an experiment, doing it as a team call. And so many of you help to co-host and sponsor those. So you're welcome to come and join us and to bring your guests. So that is my welcome introductions. And with that in mind, I'd like to have the opportunity to introduce our special guests. This being Valentine's Day night, although many of you may be listening to this on replay, we thought it would be very appropriate to host the call and call this Bless Your Heart. And for that, I'm bringing in some very special speakers. We like to talk about the balance of both the product side and the business side. And I think that will come out when Richard and Kay tell their story, a little bit about what's transitioning, what's going on in their business now. But I think it's also really valuable to hear some personal stories of people whose lives have been so dramatically impacted by the fact that we were brought into Shackley together. So with that, I would like to specifically introduce our future presidential master coordinators, Richard and Kay Beers. They are here with us from Wisconsin. And so with that, Richard, I'd like to turn it over to you and bring Kay in at any time. They are wonderful leaders that we get to partner with, and it's our pleasure to welcome them tonight as our speakers. So bless your heart, Richard.
Thank you, Carolyn. I really appreciate it. And first, one of the things that I've really admired about Shackley, and I was first introduced to Shackley when I was 19 by a lady named Norma Olson, who's still in the business. And then I came back into Shackley with Kay, my wife, who's you'll see on the screen as in 1990. So this is February is our 32nd year officially in the business together. And so what I really have enjoyed when I first heard about Shackley and when we came back, and especially being able to meet many of you, Carolyn and Donna Titus. I have a wonderful Donna Titus story about why doing the right thing never hurts anyone. Just want to thank you for the warm welcome. And I have learned so much, and we have accelerated our business so much after working with MC Mentors and Carolyn and all of you, that it's really a joy to be here. And so thank you. My job is to tell a heart story tonight. Your job is to listen. I hope and pray that I finish before you do. Raise your hand if you finished so I can wrap up my piece as soon as I can. Thanks. Tonight, I'm going to tell you a heart story, and telling a heart story is really one of the hardest things to do unless you know someone you love has had a major heart event. And I don't think that this is news to any of you, but why is that? Well, because if it's not yet a part of your life, it's difficult to understand how a life can come to an abrupt end in a matter of minutes. And that's why I couldn't wrap my head around the severity of my heart blockage when my cardiologist told me I could live for a few hours, a few days, or a few weeks, but I would probably not make it to Thanksgiving. And sure, I've heard that in many cases, the first indication of death or of heart disease is death. Death by heart issues represents by far the largest cause of death in the industrialized world.
Do you want to bring up your slides, Richard? I don't know
Yeah, I
whether
should do that. And thank you for that. I'm not ambidextrous as I thought. So anyway, so I had none of those kind of symptoms, the kind that where you have someone who has heavy breathing or pain in their arm or that kind of thing. And I had none of those symptoms on October 3rd, 2018. In the afternoon, I just had a recurring itch on my left shoulder and thought maybe I had a slight case of pneumonia. And yet within 24 hours, I was scheduled for an emergency surgery. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about Bless Your Heart. The reason we called it Bless Your Heart is because after my surgery, Kay bought a hand towel, and that's a picture of the hand towel. But more than that, we talked about it, and this is really a conversation about possibilities for heart health and healing, as you'll find out. Now, if I can figure out how to advance the screen, there we go. We do take wellness to heart, and as many of you know, the leading cause of death in the United States is heart disease. It says that on the top bar, but if you'll look on the left, you'll see 4 arrows. And these arrows have to do with things that are related to heart and circulatory issues, whether it's lower respiratory disease or stroke, which is a blood flow issue, or diabetes, which is a circulation issue. So if we really put all the eggs in one basket, there's no question that that's the biggest issue that we've seen, or the biggest cause of death. So let me tell you a little bit about me. I started my career after graduate school as a corporate consultant, and then for a while was an executive with a division of American Express. And I did the corporate lifestyle for 30 years. Ray knows exactly what I'm talking about. And this is a very big, always on lifestyle. Each week, I flew out on a Sunday or a Monday morning and flew back on a Thursday or Friday night. And we had stayed in hotels. The desk clerk in the evening was known better to me than my own children, I think. Living in restaurant food, plenty of alcohol, high stress. We only worked half days though, from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. Right, Ray? But I didn't have any real health concerns. Kay and I were married in 1980, and she ran into a lady named Barb Lagoni who helped us start a nutrition program, and we began to be impressed and be renewed to the Shackley lifestyle. So I was taking some regular vitamins, but I didn't have anything special. I was a bit overweight. I didn't have a exercise regimen, but I am an avid sailor. And this is the sailor's life for me. Up on the top left, you'll see my daughter, and I took a picture right after she won 2 back-to-back races, the first 2 she'd ever done in that boat. She was very excited. And I'm very proud of her because she also was the youngest Commodore of our yacht club, which was started in 1892 or something. And in the middle picture, you see, this is what we do when we race our sailboats. It's kind of like doing sit-ups while you're going 15 to 30 miles an hour across the water. And everything was going very well until if you look on the right-hand side, when things can get kind of out of sorts. And what happened was I was taking a sailboat down for the winter, and I found this discomfort. I had trouble breathing, went to the doctor, who said, you know what, you're over 65, you should go to the ER. And the test showed that I had severely elevated heart enzymes. And to me, I didn't understand what that meant until they said, well, what that means is we're going to take you 50 miles away to Milwaukee to go to the heart center of Wisconsin and anything north of Chicago. And they scheduled an angiogram, and they said, well, we're thinking you're probably going to need some stents. Now, that didn't sound so bad. But when I got back from the angiogram, the cardiologist said, I need to talk with you because there's something unusual about you, what's going to happen. You have a 5-way bypass in your future, and it's very important. And we're going to do this next Tuesday. But before we talk about your bypass, I want to talk to you about your heart. And all of a sudden, life became very, very, very uncertain. So what happened was, after they'd done the angiogram, the doctor said, here's the issue. You have 5 arteries that are blocked, 3 of them at 70%. You can see on the left there, 2 at 100%. And you're literally a walking time bomb. And I said, well, what happens if I don't have the surgery? He says, you won't make it. You won't make it till Thanksgiving, which was about 12 weeks away, 8 weeks away. And he said, but there's something unusual about your heart. If you look in the middle picture, you'll see little lines that are growing, that are there. And he said, you have something called collateral vessels. And these are vessels that have grown when, in response to the blockages, your heart has produced these additional vessels. That's not as unusual as the amount of vessels that you have. The network is so thick and so well developed that we think that you've had these collateral vessels for up to 20 years. And I thought, well, now that's an interesting thing because there's no history of heart issues in our family. He said, I'm from Manhattan, and your heart looked like a New York subway map. So I thought I'd put that up there to kind of show you what the network looked like. And it was interesting to me because it sounds like I was thinking that maybe something I was doing would allow this big network to develop, like the nutrients I was taking. So I had surgery, and after surgery, day 1, I was mostly conscious. I have a funny story about that I'll tell you later if we have time. On day 2, I was back on the computer texting and surfing and doing all that kind of stuff. And they said, if you want to get out of the hospital, you need to walk. And so I said, okay, I need to get out of here as soon as I can. And I walked on day 4, 2 miles over the course of the entire day to get those miles in, to build my strength and all that. And I was home on day 5. So surgery on Tuesday, home on Saturday. And I wanted to do everything I could to be as effective in recovery as possible. So a month after surgery, we met with the surgeon, and he showed us these pictures that you just took a look at. And then he showed me the blood panel, which is on the right-hand side of the screen. And the blood test showed that I had healthy heart function in cholesterol, LDL, HDL, triglycerides, and a few other things. And what it told me, I said, what does it tell you, doctor? He says, well, it tells me that you're doing good here. And I said, what it tells me is that this is probably not hereditary, that this is lifestyle oriented, because Richard, being a sailor, was not the most prim and proper person growing up. And I was no saint. But I do know that by taking handfuls of the nutrients that Barb and Kay had told us about, that I was pretty sure that the reason that network had grown was because I had provided the bloodstream, as Dr. Shackley said, a bath of nutrients for which the cells could take what they needed. Turns out that since most of you know what the landmark study is, all of my numbers fit within all of those ranges that the landmark study Shackley people fit in. So although I wasn't officially a member of the landmark study, Kay was, my numbers fit in that study. So I'm convinced that the results of that and what has happened to my heart were a result of being able to allow the genetics in my body to use the nutrients to create the collateral vessels to keep me alive until there was another way. So 120 days after surgery, that's 3 months, is that right? 4 months, I sailed in a regatta, and it was with high winds. It's a very strenuous activity when it's high winds. And our family, my last name is Beers, and my father sailed with my uncle for decades, and the two of them together had a boat called Two Beers. And you'll see a model of it in the background on the left. And because of what happened to my surgery, I renamed our family boat from Two Beers to Collateral Vessel, because to me, it was the thing that kept me alive. So a little bit about Shackley, and I know that all of you know about Shackley, but I just want to quickly review it. The quick history for those who I share this with who don't know about Shackley is I mentioned that in 1915, Dr. Shackley created the first multivitamin. In 1960, Dr. Shackley created the first organic, non-toxic, biodegradable cleaner, which became the official Earth Day product in 1990. And I shaved with that product for 20 years. One of the reasons why we got back into Shackley. In 1961, Shackley created the first protein isolate that all of you are familiar with, I'm sure. And then, of course, in 2000, Shackley became the first company on the planet to become certified carbon neutral. And I may have the term wrong, but, and has kept that commitment every year since. So for 22 years, we've had a leadership in environmental science for sure. Also, Shackley's been on every NASA mission since 1993 with over 7 patents and patents pending. And as you all know, because you know about Carolyn and what you all worked on, the athletes that are powered by Shackley products in the Olympics have 151 gold, silver, and bronze medals, although I think we have to add to that pretty soon. And this one I really like because both Kay and I were trained as scientists. Over 142 peer-reviewed, third-party, double-blind, placebo-controlled studies, including the landmark study, and the only company in the industry to have long-term proof of the products. And then, of course, finally, all the products are non-GMO and 100% guaranteed. But tonight I want to just touch briefly on what we were using back 32 years ago. It was the precursor to Vitalizer. We were taking the multi, the B complex, the carotenoids, and when the probiotic came along, we used that because that was the basics. I could put that in my briefcase, in my suitcase, and travel all week and know that I was getting at least the minimum for the right kind of nutrients that I needed. And so when I show this to other people who are not familiar with Shackley, I spend a little time talking about how Vitalizer can be very useful for people of all ages and the benefits of doing that. You, of course, know much about this, so I won't go into detail about that. And you also know that there's a smart delivery system. And one of the reasons why Kay and I have kept up with Shackley for 32 years is because of the commitment to ongoing science to allow the nutrients to be available in the body. It's fabulous, and I'm so proud to be part of this organization because of this technology that we're always getting surprised with new options. A couple of things that we talk about for heart health are Omega Guard and CoQ Heart. Anybody who's over 55 is probably, it's worth their time to take a look at what's here and why. I won't go into all of the details, but these are powerful products that do great things. And I seem to think that this is my living proof story for taking these. Also, blood pressure and cholesterol reduction complex. These are great, great products for people who have unique issues that have to do with ways to support their heart and their circulation. And of course, we like to talk about a collection of these things. You know, for option A is for people who have blood pressure issues to take the Vitalizer, the Omega Guard, CoQ Heart, and blood pressure. And all of that is about $7 a day for optimal heart nutrients. And then option B is the same, except for we're adding cholesterol reduction complex. So there's options for people with different heart issues. But if people don't know where to start or that looks too technical, we also think the best place to start is with a solid start. And that's the Prove It Challenge, which is about $6 a day to prove to yourself that you can feel better in 30 days. I love this slide more than anything because this is, the quotation from Roger Barnett, which says, Shaklee has the only nutritional products in the world that are clinically proven to help people live younger and longer for 3, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 years. And I conclude and I'm a part of that. So I've been taking it for a long, long time also. So just to close here a little bit, you've already heard how, about my bypass and all that. So before my heart event, my corporate lifestyle began to limit the biology in my lifespan, but I didn't know that. After my heart event, my nutrition program was already working to counteract those limits. Before my heart event, I knew the body could deteriorate, but I didn't know that there were options. We've only recently learned that our DNA can be repaired. We knew it could degrade. But after the heart event, I have proof my program has rebounded my health and by rebuilding my cells to be stronger than ever. Before my heart event, I knew I had a life-saving business. But now after my heart event, I know I have a life-enhancing business. So here's what I'd like to leave with you. Someone who invited you here tonight, and we ask that you talk with that person again and say, if I were going to try an experiment for 3 months, a fundamental nutrition program, what would that look like? That's it. Just ask them. Talk about a 90-day test to change your brands to see what would happen to you. You have nothing to lose, literally nothing. For you see, the second best time to have started a nutrition program was 20 years ago. That's right, the second best. The best time is to start one right now. You see, my genetics are nothing special from yours. My lifestyle changed my options for living a long life. And my Shaklee nutrients allowed my genetics to grow life-saving collateral vessels for over 20 years to counteract crazy, always-on lifestyle. And if it can happen for me, it can happen for you. So thanks for your time. Happy to answer any questions. If they're technical in nature, I'd love for Kay to provide the answers. Thanks.
Well, Richard, first of all, gigantic, huge thank you very much from everybody. That is such a powerful story. And we live on personal stories. And when they come with such your authenticity and the background and everything that you have showed, I think is just it's very moving for all of us. It's very heartening for us as business leaders who represent the power of the products that we get to represent and who also get to use the same products ourselves. So what a wonderful kind of validation that there is. And again, if these stories go public and someone listens to them and the government comes and says you can't tell these kinds of stories, maybe not, but this is Richard's story. And so we just think it's really powerful to be able to share. So Richard, thank you so much. I want to switch to Kay for a minute. And Kay, I would like to have you just give us perhaps a little of your perspective on all of this that happened. And maybe there's a certain amount of I told you so, and it's a good thing you were doing this and you followed what I suggested. And maybe there's a certain amount of I told you should have been doing more of this. I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of I told you that lifestyle was going to catch up with you. I don't know. But I would love to hear from you because this certainly was a family event. And you all now are together very focused on expanding the reach of your story, which goes beyond just telling your story yourself, but it goes to the point of developing other team and business leaders who can therefore represent all the things that we have. So I would like to welcome future presidential master coordinator, Kay Beers.
Hey, thank you.
Kay,
Thank you. Well, Carolyn, it's so funny when you're talking about I told you so. I didn't do that, you know? I mean, the nurse in me would not allow me to do that to a patient, you know? I wouldn't be saying, I told you, you should have been doing this. And it didn't even really cross my mind. But being a nurse, I just went into a nurse mode, which is what's the next best thing and the next best thing and the next best thing. And we get through all this. And looking back, I was thinking, gosh, I should have been just terrified that he was going to be going into surgery for a 5-way bypass. But being the nurse that I am, I just knew things were going to be good and he had a great surgeon, etc. So, but I was very glad that whenever I did get to talk to the cardiologist and see those collateral blood vessels working, they did that angiogram to begin with. And when he showed us after the surgery, a video of whenever the blood hit the blockage in the heart, it just went right around the blockage. So it was amazing to watch it. It did it so quickly and just went right around the blockage. And I really believe, of course, with all the nutrients we're taking, we know that angiogenesis, which is the creation of new blood vessels, happens. And it happens with soy too, especially really good, really well, but lots of other things. And we weren't taking blood pressure or cholesterol regulation complex at the time. We were just taking mostly all the basic nutrition and protein. And when I'm thinking about now what Richard's doing, excuse me, and I looked at the blood pressure and the cholesterol regulation complex, we're not even taking that because his blood pressure is good, his cholesterol is good. So we're just continuing with what we were doing. And that includes garlic. Richard has a story about that. Includes garlic and vitamin C, which are great for blood vessels, period. Vitamin C makes that blood vessel wall strong. And that's can help prevent strokes. So, it's not just for colds and flus and your immune system. It's really good for your blood vessels. And of course, garlic is really good. Richard, why don't you tell that story real quick?
Real quick.
Yes, real quick.
So, the last thing I remember was when they, gave me the injection and I fell asleep, but I saw a team of people and I woke up. I heard people talking to me and I heard this nurse say, "Richard, can you hear me?" And of course, had stuff all dialed up. And I said, "Yes." And it says here, "We're looking at the medications that you're taking. And it says here, you're taking garlic. Why are you taking garlic?" And I said, "Am I in the recovery room of a cardiac surgery unit?" They said, "Yes, you are." And I said, "You mean you don't know the power of garlic for heart health? You need to talk to my wife." And you know what they said? "Yep, he's awake now."
But before he came out of that recovery room, a nurse stopped me when I went in to see him and said, "Are you his wife?" And of course I was. And then she said, "Can I talk to you about garlic?" That was really nice to hear, isn't it? They know a lot more about nutrition now than they used to, and they used to poo-poo it. So I'm so glad that they're asking questions. But then if you talk about blood pressure and cholesterol regulation complex, those are really good because the blood pressure, of course, it won't let you, the FDA doesn't want us to talk about it curing things or helping. But what I want to tell you is that it does increase your nitric oxide, which dilates your blood vessels to give you a better blood pressure. It also helps the blood flow into the really tiny areas of your body. So it nourishes them with nutrients as well as oxygen. And then that cholesterol regulation complex has sterols and stanols, which you can get from vegetables. And they're really good for you. And the FDA will allow you to say stanols and sterols help with your cholesterol. And that's what it does. It's full of those things. And so when you put those in your body, whenever you've eaten a meal that has higher fat, it attaches to that fat and takes it out of the body rather than letting it be absorbed. So that's how it helps with cholesterol, just so you know. That's about all I have.
There's so much wisdom, Kay. Thank you. I love give us another sentence or two about garlic, because I think that correlation is just really, first of all, the way
Wasn't
Richard tells the story is great.
I know. He gives me credit for knowing a lot of things. I don't know if I know all those things, but garlic, I mean, we've been taking it for a while. We take 2 every day because it kills viruses and bacteria and parasites and worms. I mean, you've got it right there. And if we start to get something, or we just take more of it, and we smell like garlic for a couple of days if we're taking 6 every day. But normally we take 2 every day. But what's nice about it is it helps with the flow of blood through your body. It really keeps that flow going really well. If you're going to have surgery, you know how the doctors tell you don't take your supplements about 5 days beforehand? It's because they don't want you to bleed, right? Because we know vitamin C helps with that blood flow. E does that too. Garlic does that. Omega-3s does that. So we're feeling pretty good that our blood's flowing really well and not getting sticky and having problems with blood clots. But when I had my hip surgery, I had a hard time thinking about the fact that I wouldn't be taking nutrients before surgery. It just was not good for me to be thinking that. So I didn't. I just kept taking what I was taking. And I'd heard a lot of people that do that. But they also gave me a blood thinner after surgery. And that was his usual thing. Well, that's what did it. And I lost some blood, and they had to give me a blood transfusion. But had they not given me that blood thinner and just took my word for it that my nutrients were going to keep my blood flowing, I wouldn't have had a problem. And it wasn't a big problem. They just gave me a unit of blood. But just know that that's what it does. And that if they're going to do something about giving you a blood thinner at surgery, you might really hold off on at least a couple of days before surgery.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I heard a wonderful analogy just in this past weekend from a friend of mine who is a cardiologist. And her analogy is that the medical profession is like the top of an iceberg. And that is the part that the medical community focuses on, which is the area where the most severe and critical things are. Everything that is below the top of that iceberg, some of which is above the water, but much of which is below the water, all of those things are lifestyle choices, perhaps also heredity and so on. But they are things that we have the ability to contribute and to make positive or negative results come out of that, so that by the time we get up to that top of that iceberg, that's where the physicians work. And it's a good reminder for us that it's not their job. They're not trained to get people out of this. It's their job to deal with people that have very severe critical issues. It's our job to do everything we can to work below the top of that iceberg. And I just thought that analogy was so appropriate, and it really fits with all the things that you are saying.
That's
So
visual. That's good, Carolyn.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
So Richard and Kay, thank you for doing an outstanding job. What I would like to do is just simply open it up. If there are any questions, they are certainly available for that. If anyone has any comments, you're welcome to do that. And if not, we will go back to enjoying our Bless Your Heart Valentine's evening. But are there any comments, or anyone just like to maybe give a personal acknowledgement and thank you? Questions? No questions. All right.
Great job,
Well,
Richard. Great job, Kay.
presentation.
Yeah.
We
Very good
appreciate you guys being on and telling your story. And Richard, I didn't know that you had a 5 bypass surgery. My goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
He
I can
heals
tell
so fast. I mean, his incision, it was amazing how fast it healed. They cut him open right there and pulled him apart.
Yeah.
Wow.
we just sailed out to the right after that surgery, that when I went out to sail on that next regatta, it was down in Florida. And of course, everybody says, "You okay? Do you need help getting on the boat?" I'm going, this is, I've been doing just like 3 or 4% more than the cardiologist rehab people were telling me to do, just because I needed to be ready. And they said, if you don't feel good, you can, we'll just drop out of the race and we'll do that. I said, we are here to
No
race.
way.
We are here to race.
That's good.
Richard-
Great job, you guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Richard and Kay. It was wonderful.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
all
you.
so
Hey,
much.
Bob.
Thank you
Bob.
so much.
Great information. Great. This is great.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank
We
you, everyone.
appreciate you. Happy Valentine's
Richard.
Day, and may we all bless
Happy
our
Valentine's.
hearts. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Donna.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.